Charlie King is my dad, and I was born to him and my beautiful mum, Jean King. And mum was from Tweed, and she's a Mulunjali Bundjalung woman. And mum's brothers played football against dad's football team in Brisbane All Blacks. That's how they met. With the football, their love for football continued, and it still continues today. Dad played football for the Brisbane All Blacks, and that's where the problem started, because they had no jerseys, no socks, no nothing. So, they needed someone to help them to raise money and to run the office, so to speak, and book the teams in and try and book a bus or a tram to go somewhere and find out all those things. So they had a meeting, and Dad was elected the president for the club. They had a number of teams, not only the A grade and the reserve grade. They had they had a C grade team, and they also had under 18s as well. There was a number of teams that Dad had to take care of. They really had nothing to be able to purchase their jerseys. The first game that they had, the reserve grades usually play. So they had nice clean jerseys when they ran on. When they came off, they had to take their football jerseys off and give it to the A grade players to come on and play the main game in these dirty, bloodied, jerseys. So one day Dad was going past the North Quay here, and he saw the hall at Boathouse, and he'd inquired about it. He wrote 3 letters because the first 2 he got declined. So a socialite lady came to Dad's rescue and said, "I will stand up for yous, to have your dances there." And that's how they started to raise money. Dad got his nephew to bring his old gramophone, and he brought the old records and put the microphone up to the gramophone. Sometimes they had a band there, a 3-piece band. Those Boathouse dances happened every Saturday night, and it was always packed. They were able to raise a lot of money from that. And everybody, when they came down to Brisbane and they needed to find family, they would go to the Boathouse dances and ask, "Do you know where such and such is?" And they said, "Yeah, we'll take you there, bros," or "We take you down there, sis, we know where there's..." So it was the place to go if you came down to Brisbane to find out where your mob is. There were stipulations. They had plainclothes policemen circling the Boathouse dances because they didn't know exactly what was going on. They thought there was a movement going on. It was could become political, and that was far from the truth. But they still came. There was one thing that Dad had mentioned to me. The stipulation was that if a glass broke, that would end him and the team from having any more dances. So you can imagine the pressure that he was under and everybody else would have been under in those days, to make sure no glass, even on the windows and doors and everything, would not break. When they had to make sure they had to be home by a certain time as well. You could not be caught wandering the streets or walking around. You had to go straight home. If you were caught even just walking and you were going to walk home, where no matter how far it was, you could have been picked up and put in the paddy wagon or taken elsewhere. Mum and Dad, they used to talk about Boathouse dances and talk about the football club. And that was fine. Young, you just took it as is, And it wasn't until early 90s when I saw an elder in town, And he asked about Dad. And I said, yeah, he's going well, Uncle. And he said, you know, your father should receive an award. I said, an award? My father? I said, what for? He said, for what he did for us back in the 50s, the football club. You know, it was tough times for us, but we started to see that we can enjoy ourselves. We had life. And I realised then a role that Dad had played in bringing families together. But I understand now, you know, what the Boathouse has meant to Brisbane and the Brisbane All Blacks football team, what it meant to the footballers back then and their families.